obviously a tremendous career that you had with the club after leaving West Ham. And, I watched you many times growing up in London as well. Let's talk about Chelsea. It's not a secret. It's not a surprise. They've struggled this season. There's no hiding from it. What do you think's gone wrong?
I think it's a delayed hangover from all of the change that's gone on at the club. Yeah, one thing that settled clubs do, you look at Man City now as the pinnacle. They're settled, same manager, same recruitment team, same group of players, adding a little bit, taking a little bit off, and it becomes a well-oiled machine, like we were from sort of 2003 to 2013, 15, 16. But a change of ownership, change of manager, change of backroom staff, massive overhaul in the playing staff, uncertainty because of the circumstances of the change. I think the players done remarkably well to keep it going for as long as they did. But we're in a transitional period. There's no doubt about that. And I think the ownership group they've backed themselves. They've put their money where their mouth is. They've shown desire and passion for the project. I think the next moves are crucial. And one thing I would say to them is, like, when you're managing a football club and you make mistakes, these mistakes are not so. It's like, say you're a boxer, you make a mistake, you drop your guard, you get punched on the nose, you've made a mistake. With a football club, if you make mistakes in certain elements, it can sometimes be 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, that these mistakes come to fruition before you can start rectifying them. So I think there needs to be an element of patience amongst the fan base, because we are where we are, and the ownership group, they have to continue doing what they're doing with passion and investment and believing in it, but also being very, very mindful of the next moves, because the next moves will have massive ramifications of where we are as a club. But that I think they've been brilliant since they've come in. One thing owners, the main thing they need to do is back the club, bring players in, and they've certainly done that. But there's certain moves now that need to be made, and I'm sure these guys will make the right ones.
Yeah, you said some very important things there. I think a few things that I agree with you. There's no denying that there's been, money behind the mouth. There's been a lot of transfer action, a lot of tremendous players coming in, not just Enzo Fernandez, but the January acquisitions, of course. And also, Joe, I thought that Todd Bowley and co were very patient with Graham Potter as well. Obviously, Graham, who's a fantastic manager, found himself in a tricky situation, but there was patience there. So now, obviously, as you said, it's all about the next move. Look, you don't have to, this isn't a place right here where I'm going to ask a lot of gossip for you, but the next move is clearly the next permanent manager. Your pal, former player, Frank Lampard, is doing what he can, but there's a few matches left. The next manager is obviously crucial. There's been some names going around, obviously, reportedly. Is there somebody in your mind that you want? Julian Nagelsmann has been talked about. Luis Enrique, Mauricio Pochettino, who I'm a huge fan of. What do you think? Who do you think should be that next person?
All of the names above are tremendous managers, tremendous coaches. But the crucial thing is the timing of it, and you have to understand. Traditionally, Chelsea would have gone out and they would have looked at the top tier of managers, and they would have picked from them. Who do we want? Do we want Jose Mourinho? Do we want Carlo Ancelotti, Phil Scolari, Conte, like the guys who are in the doing it now? So the next manager has to be someone probably with an idea on development, rebuild, working with younger players. So they need to maybe look in a different type of manager to like the marquee ones that have been coming. Also is the guy coming in, where's the expectations lie? Because that's shifted as well, because however this season finishes, Chelsea will not be regarded as anywhere near favourites for the title next year. All the stranger things in football have happened. We know that things can change in an instant, but the next acquisition of manager has to come with a clear plan of what is expected of him, And that needs to be relayed on to the fans as well, because the Chelsea fans have been used to competing for the Premier League title, competing for the FA Cup, competing for the Champions League, winning these trophies. And maybe there needs to be a realization, that there needs to be some patience and rebuild. So I think that's going to be crucial. I think it'll be a different type of manager that comes into Chelsea, not just a huge name.
Yeah, somebody that can imprint an identity, I guess, to Chelsea and understand. Yeah. So, all right. So let's move on from that. But no European competitions next season, presumably almost a blessing in disguise, maybe, to just focus on the Premier League?
Possibly. But also you have to consider if we don't trim the squad, Europa League or even the Conference League is an opportunity to play players and put them in the shop window, because that you can't get away from it. There will have to be a culling of the squad, from both perspectives. There's players in that squad who need to move on for themselves and their career and their life and their family and start somewhere else. And there's also players from Chelsea's perspective who are probably not able to take the club to where they need to go. So but that's a negotiation in itself, and that'll be something that has to happen. And maybe I'm sort of thinking if we could nick into some kind of the Conference League, I don't know what positions it is, then you get these players going, you get them playing, and then they're easier to go up, because other clubs will probably be looking at Chelsea's players and their top players. But if they've only played 15 games a season in the last few years, it's hard to go and spend big money on them. It's very difficult.
Yeah, the size of the squad is definitely an issue. I mean, and these are not topics that we're talking that are shocking to anybody. No. It's obviously a squad that needs to be managed. And by the way, 7th would be good enough. I think even if West, there would be 8 Premier League teams if West Ham won the Conference League.
Which is every possibility as well.
Absolutely.
Every possibility, yeah.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.